Happy New Year. Guess what it is? It's a special double dip today, a double preview, UConn men and women. Guess what? You're locked on.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we dive into today's show, just want to take a moment to say how thankful we are for all of you, whether you're joining us live today or just listen to us on any of the numerous audio possibilities there are. We're not just talking hyperbole. This show has grown to the #1 college basketball show on the Locked On Podcast Network in less than a year. And we're proud to say we're the only daily podcast covering both UConn men's and women's basketball, the hoops capital of the world. And we're thrilled to bring you the coverage you deserve. And we're showing our gratitude because we're going to give back. We're donating 10% of our revenue to Husky Ticket Project, helping send kids to UConn games. And also try to figure out how to make monthly donations to NIL now that Leading Blue for Good is now being dissipated or rolled into the UConn Foundation. We'll probably talk about that, not today, but another time. So if you're enjoying the show, take a moment to subscribe, follow, and leave a review wherever you listen. Thanks again for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. Let's bring our gentleman of the new year, my co-host, Dan Meehan. Oh, I just lost you. Just kidding. Happy New Year.
What's up, New Year. How are we? Happy New Year.
I'm great, man. We're here talking UConn hoops. We got some people already, people jumping on. We got a double dip today. Kind of sucks that they're both playing at 2:00, but I thought, when I texted you, I said, why don't we just do a little 2-for-1 preview? And I think that's pretty fair. Typically I don't do a lot of like the men and women at the same time, but it's desperate times call for desperate measures, right? Give me one New Year's resolution for you this year before we get into the show.
Spend less time on my phone. Tweeting with all you fine folks.
That's a tough one because that's how we make our living. But you're right. That would be a good one. My wife would probably jump on right now and say, like, yes, tell Mark to do that.
I just need to be more on the desktop. Try to save my eyeballs a little bit. Getting older.
That's totally fair. All right, let's jump into the men's preview. They have DePaul today. Last year when they played DePaul, it was kind of like how many points are going to beat them by? And this year with Chris Holtzman and him bringing in even in Dan's media availability yesterday, talking about how he's done such an amazing job that he brought in a bunch of like older, tough-nosed guys that are, gonna kind of go right at UConn's neck. So they better be ready to play today because DePaul, even though I think it's an 11-point, 12-point spread, something like that. It's a road game in the Big East, and this team is not going to give a rip whether UConn won back-to-back championships, and they just won't. I don't think Chris Holtzman's going to let them. What do you like? What's the first thing you want to see from this UConn team right out of the gates?
Yeah, the spread's 11.5. UConn's favored. They're playing at DePaul. This is the only top 25 game on the slate for the college men's game today, so all eyes are going to be on UConn. UConn hasn't played in 10 days. DePaul is coming off a win just 3 or 4 days ago. So UConn's going to be fresh. Are they going to be too fresh? We've seen teams that have kind of coming off long layovers. They're traveling, holidays. Are they going to be sluggish? This isn't a game that UConn should lose. DePaul, they're coming off 2 losses in the Big East. They're 9-4 on the season. They recently lost to St. John's by 28. But like you said, this is an experienced squad. They brought a couple guys in from the portal. They are a really good shooting team. Their top 3 minutes guys all play. Their top 3 guards all play 30 minutes a game, and they all shoot north of 40% from 3. So that's right. That's something that this team, that Hurley mentioned in the presser, like you said earlier this week, their perimeter defense has to get better. It's probably the one.
His best quote from that presser or media availability, it was a Zoom, was "We're defending like pretenders." Yeah. That's a direct quote from Dan. Because he's talking about on-ball defense and ball screen coverage. Like, that's the biggest issue, and it's we said that was going to be the biggest issue this year because they don't have. I mean, think about when you had Steph and Donovan doing exactly what the guys are doing this year, and now it's Hassan and Samson. Yeah. Like, no disrespect to Haas and Samson, but that's two elite defenders in the world that you can say now because they're playing in the pros and they're showing it at the next level. So they just need to. They don't. No one needs them to be Steph and Donovan. It'd be nice, but they should be better. That's it.
Let us not forget a man named Cam Spencer, who last night had an evening against the Phoenix Suns. Only had 2 points, didn't play a whole lot of minutes, but damn near incited a riot towards the end of the game. Rips the ball out of Devin Booker's hand, who had a really rough night shooting for a 20, and got teed up for it, smiling in the Olympian's face. That was entertaining, and Steph Castle balled out last night too. So 2 former Huskies from last year's perimeter 6'4" guy and a 6'7" guy that were just both great defenders in their own right. But I think that coming into this season, I was actually maybe in the minority thinking that our down low presence was going to be more of an issue on defense, not the perimeter. With we've got a guy in Hassan Diarra who's just a lockdown guard, but some of the other guys on the fringes have been a little weak. Solo Ball and Aiden Mahaney, the on-ball defense, not where it needs to be yet. But I said in the green room before the pod, UConn's metrics right now are eerily reminiscent of a team that we faced last year in the Final Four in Alabama. Right now, UConn's 16th overall in KenPom. They are the number 2 offensive rating team in the country, and they are 101st in KenPom in defensive rating. That is right where Alabama was the entirety of last season throughout the year. And they made it all the way to the Final Four and gave UConn a run for their money in that Final Four game. UConn wins the game by 14, but I think we could all agree that was one of the bigger scares in a big game that UConn had last year. So they're not. I don't think they're going to be where they're going to be. They're not where they're going to be right now. They're going to get better, but this team can go to if all things remain true, they can still go to a Final Four as kind of currently constructed.
Absolutely. And before we get into DePaul, some of the other comments that that Dan had yesterday was UConn's goal is to develop some depth. That means Aiden Mahaney as a potential Joey Calcaterra 2.0 is a quote from Dan, which is interesting because that's shifted from we need him to be hybrid Tristan and Cam to now let's just get Joey. Let me get Joey C. And I think that's honestly, I think that's a great type of role for him because there's freedom to that. Like there's kind of a lot less responsibility when you're Joey Calcaterra. No disrespect, one of the greatest transfers in our program's history to come in and win a national championship. Fresh from the West Coast. I think that's part of it too. Is like a California kid. So I think that's part of it too. Is like I think he just wants him to just play free, and I think you're going to see him more, as we talked about, and I've written about him coming as more of a 2 guard and essentially coming off of screens. And I don't think it's going to take anything away from Jaden Ross's minutes or Jalen Stort's minutes because that's not those guys' jobs. Like they're wing players. Aiden is not a wing. He's a 2. So it's really just about maybe spelling solo for 5-7 minutes at a time, letting Aiden come in and try to get as many points. Do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think I was never one to compare Aiden Mahaney to Steph Castle or Cam Spencer.
I'll say it.
I didn't see the profile. The shooting efficiency wasn't there either, even when he was a freshman.
Tristan wasn't who he was until he got here. And that's what I thought. I thought they were going to transform him.
Sure.
And that was the pitch. I was in recruiting him. It's like, we're going to get you to this level. And maybe he's just a little lagging behind. But go, continue.
There's nothing wrong with being compared to Joey Calcaterra. The guys shot the lights out. And if they can just get that out of Aiden Mahaney, this team's going to be better for it. I think this is going to be an interesting game to potentially see Ahmad Noel back in the mix. Like we said, this is a guard-heavy team in DePaul. They've got good size across their, top 7-8 guys, but their top 3 guys are 6 foot, 6'2" guards that shoot the lights out.
Yep.
This is going to be a really important game where perimeter defense is going to need to be like spot on. This DePaul team is not the DePaul team of years past. Chris Holtman is a darn good coach. Hurley said it in the presser this week. He's going to have them in the tournament soon enough. they've only played 13 games. They've already tripled their win total from last season. So this team is not the same as they were last year or years past. So
I will caution you though. Like I think they're definitely not the way they were, because let's just put it this way: if Chris Holtman comes in and has the DePaul team that was here last year, they probably still have the same amount of wins. And I'm going to say that because that DePaul team was talented, but they just didn't have any structure. It looked like an AAU team, and I say that with absolute insincerity because I can't stand AAU basketball. But anyway, so my point is he's got them playing like a team. And listen, coaches schedule to what their team needs. Like, and I know scheduling happens years in advance, but this schedule for them to start was perfect because they played nobody, and they close games, and they got a little their legs underneath them, and they started competing. They competed for about 9 or 10 minutes of the St. John's game, and then they got their doors blown off. But that was on the road, and they haven't won a Big East game yet. Providence was a close one, right? That went to overtime. God, how bad is Providence, by the way? Good Lord. Did you see some of that game last night?
So I was going to make a comparison. You say that you need structure and a program to work around. You know, if all things are equal and you have the same personnel, but the structure's not there, you're not going to be very successful. You need a program to kind of rely on and something to come to work every day with a plan. Providence doesn't look like they have one right now, and Georgetown does. So we might all owe Ed Cooley a little bit of an apology. They have been better.
Nope, not apologizing.
They've been better than advertised, and they've got some good guys on that team, and he's improving that program already from the prior regime. But coming into this game, you know, what DePaul does well, they shoot it well. They're not a good free throw shooting team, but the team is at 39% as a team. That's like top 20 in the country.
27.
So something to look out for. Yeah, something to look out for.
UConn's perimeter defense is going to need to be on point today. And I honestly, I hope what we see is them not over helping on guys who are driving to the basket. Let your bigs try to erase mistakes, because when you overhelp, that's when they kick out for open threes. And that's the way a team at home can get hot and start to kind of feel like they can beat you. So if you take them out of their game, I'd love to see it. It sounds so counterintuitive to or the way I grew up playing basketball, but I would love to see DePaul get a ton of paint touches, because I don't think they have the guys that are going to be able to finish consistently to beat UConn from 2-point range. But what they do have is consistent offensive production from 3. And if UConn stays consistent, they did it for about, I would say, 12 minutes of the Butler game. They felt really consistently playing good perimeter defense. And then it got a little dicey, and that's when Butler made their comeback. So I just don't want to see the repeat of today. And hopefully with the 10-day layoff, you have some of that stuff cleared up.
Yeah, another thing I'm going to be looking for, said it a few times now. These guards on DePaul are tiny. These are 6 foot and 6'2" guards across the perimeter. Look for that lob play from Hassan Diarra, first play of the game, to Samson Johnson. We'll see if that's going to be open. And another thing defensively that they've done in the last few games, they did it against Gonzaga at MSG, and it worked really well. And I see a similar profile. So Nembhard on Gonzaga, leading the nation in assists per game coming into that game. Hassan Diarra does everything he can in the first half. They gave him a blow in the second half and put Jaden Ross, a 6'7" wing, on a 6-0 point guard, and just erased him in the second half. Nembhard only had 7 assists in that game. That's half his season total per game. And that team goes as he goes. And they just kind of eliminated him. He was 6 of 15 in the game. I'm looking for something like that today from Hassan on defense in the first half. On Connor Enright, he's a 6-0 guard. He shoots it well, but he leads the conference in assists per game at 7.1. They go as he goes. If they can neutralize him, just slow him down in the first half, then maybe, open some things up as they put Jay Ross or Stewart on him in the second half, just to slow things down and give Haas a blow so he can kind of facilitate on offense in the second half and open things up as DePaul's legs get tired. Just something to look out for.
I couldn't agree more. Couple more things, and then we're going to take a break and do a quick ad, and then we'll do a quick women's preview. and then we'll get out of here so we can all go and prepare for the game, and then we'll be back after that for a live show. The live show will be. This is no disrespect to the women, but when I do live reaction shows for the men, the engagement is about 20 times. When I do recorded shows, I get more views on the women. So I'm making a business decision that I'm going to do a live reaction show for the men. We will also comment if the women obviously are going to win and all that stuff. So just to give everybody a heads up, the live reaction show will be mostly men focused, but we are going to do the women preview here in a second. So it's on 2:00 today. Believe is it on CBS Sports Network? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So listen, DePaul's kind of entered with a little momentum, even though they really have they've sputtered a little bit in Big East play so far. What I want to see from this team before we jump to a break is I want to see Alex Caravan, Hassan Diarra, and Samson Johnson play their asses off today and show the rest of the team what it's like to play on the road. I know they just won a game on the road, but carry this team, carry us across the finish line in impressive fashion today. I do not want it to be, a 5-point game with 10 minutes to play. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but the way this team has allowed teams to come back in with their offensive lulls and their defensive lack of intensity, or I hate to say laziness, but it's part of it. Lack of attention to detail, maybe from a mentality perspective. I want a clean 40 minutes.
I would love to see just holding a good 3-point shooting team to like 35%, 30%. Shut their guys down. Don't let any one of these guys, we've seen a couple of times now out in Maui and against a couple other teams where just one guy gets super hot. The 7th leading scorer on Xavier drops like 25 on us and shoots the lights out of nowhere. It's like, I don't want to see that today. Shut these guys down across the board.
I agree with you. But I will give one caveat to that before we go to break. If DePaul's 7th leading scorer goes off today, then there's something in the water when that people play against us, because people talk about the water is great in New Haven and that's why the pizza's so good. I think there would be something in the water here, because Xavier, as I've pointed out probably ad nauseum, 9 assists in that game, 9 on 29 made field goals. So that means they just played like they were playing in an AAU game, and all their shots fell. So if you have that kind of shot making, then you kind of have to throw your hands up like Michael Jordan and go, I don't know why this is happening, but it is. So, but yeah, I would love to see against a more structured team like DePaul, them shut them down. You're 1,000% right. Let's take a quick break and tell you about Game Time coming up. Let me get out of here after this. Where's Game Time at? There's my buddies at Game Time. All right. There's nothing quite like attending the college football playoff, right? I can't imagine what it was like there if you're a Boise State fan. You think you almost are about to cut the lead to 3, and then you get a holding call. The excitement, the energy, the memories, an experience that every fan should have. And with a new 12-team format, there's even more reason to get in the action. That's why I love using Game Time. Game Time Picks feature makes finding the best deals on tickets a breeze. It cuts through the clutter to show your incredible seats at an unbeatable price. I always use Game Time to grab tickets for family members, and it's seamless. The app showed me clear seat views so I can show them what the upfront cost is, and it highlights the best value for seats, no surprise fees, just peace of mind knowing I can get them the best deal, right? And so their tickets always arrive on time, guaranteed. I send it, it's perfect. Take the guesswork out of ticket buying with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we're back with Dan Meehan and Mark Snow here at Locked On UConn. We're going to leave Game Time up and give them some love for the rest of this segment. If you're in Chicago and you want to go to this game, I'm sure there's some really great seats. Check them out. Dead serious. You get $20 off. You might as well, right? All right, let's pivot to the UConn women who are in Milwaukee playing Marquette. It's a little bit of a homecoming for KK Arnold. She's from the area. She's a Wisconsin native. This game serves as kind of like, I've said this when they played Providence and they won by 26 points, but they were up 20 points in like a heartbeat in the first quarter. the entire Big East slate, with maybe the exception of playing Creighton is pretty decent this year, is going to be these games. They're going to blow the doors off people for the first 10, 15 minutes of the game. Then there's going to be a huge lull because you're not getting consistent play from AZ because she's coming back from a knee sprain. You don't have Aubrey Griffin, so you don't have the type of defense that you want in the front court because Jana Elfie, even though she's starting now, is not 100% healthy. Is this all sounding familiar for the UConn women? People aren't healthy. We're getting back to whatever, but it just is what it is. AZ's return is going to be a gradual ramp up. Aubrey's coming back. I think Gino said mid-January, so they're targeting like the 15th to the 17th to see if she's good to go. If that happens, then we're cooking with grease because this team with her gets even deeper and has leadership aspects to it too. Paige and AZ together is a fantastic combination, but right now you really just hope that these tinkering moments in these Big East games is a great testing grounds for the freshmen, the Morgan Shelley's of the world, the Allies of Balls of the world. Obviously, Sarah Strong is kind of like a super freshman, so she doesn't really need the tinkering. But it's really just it's Gino is literally playing like fantasy football out there for the Big East because he's just which lineup is going to work. I mean, do you see anything else? Because I don't.
Similar to the men's team, when you have when you play a bye game team early in the season, first 4 games, Lemoyne or East Texas A&M, whatever, you have the opportunity to kind of tinker with some things and try to figure out your identity. UConn women have more kind of leeway in that regard in their conference play. They're the only team in the Big East right now in the top 25 AP poll. So they're not going to see a whole lot of like this team that they're playing today. Marquette is 9-3. The spread is 24.5. Like UConn, whether they cover the spread or not, the women, they shouldn't have any issues beating this team today. Marquette is
they probably
not.
Will.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to match up with UConn's size. They don't have anyone that can guard Alfie in the post. Their tallest defender is 6 feet tall in the starting lineup, 6'1". So we'll see how things work out. Like I said, UConn's favored by 24.5. They get Easy Fudd back. I don't know if she'll be on a minute count today, but she played well last game. She is,
from what I've heard from the beat reporters and just kind of listening to Gino's comments. AZ she's not on like a minutes restriction, but they're kind of just making sure that the ramp up is gradual because like, as we said, like, and again, I always have to say this because I hate saying this, but the Big East in the women's side is so bad that it doesn't matter. Like if she didn't play, like let's say no, I don't want this to happen, but let's say she was like sick today and because nothing's wrong with her, she just had the flu or something, right? And she couldn't play. They're still going to win by 25 points. So you
want to err on the side of caution with her. If they want to do special things in March, she's going to be very big part of what they do. And when the spread's 25, you're not going to press your luck and overexert her and further injure her. When she'll
play. I think she played 22 minutes against Providence. I think but these are the games like so did Paige. Like when you play the Providences, the Marquettes, the Big East slate, maybe outside of Creighton, you're gonna see, KK and Ashland probably play the most minutes or Caitlin Chen because they're the ones that need kind of the extra seasoning, if you will, right? I think
freshman or someone else or a freshman to try to elevate, some of their games and get them ready for March. You saw some big time players go down last year and people had to step up. If this team expects to go far in the tournament in March, you're going to need those guys the 7th, 8th person off the bench. Like you're going to need those people to be playing well come March. Yeah.
And the last comment, because like I said, there's not much to this game other than just what will the final score be and get everyone out of there healthy, get out of Milwaukee healthy. Right. And what's this movie with the girl from Bridesmaids when that's based out of Milwaukee and she says on the plane, "Help me, I'm poor." I always whenever I think of Milwaukee, I honestly that's the first thing I think of because of that movie was set there in like Chicago area. So sorry, I digress. But
all-time comedy.
It's the best. So my point is with this is like they have to absolutely come out of this game healthy. Gino is going to continue to tinker. I think what we'll see eventually is by the end of January, beginning of February, going into the Tennessee and the South Carolina game, you're going to see a closing a lineup of Daisy, Paige, Sarah, Jana, and Aubrey. If Aubrey's healthy, you're going to have, because Aubrey's not an offensive threat, but you have your 3 studs, which are, that triumvirate of scorers and efficiency players. And then you have your big and Jana, who hopefully at that point is more just, getting a bunch of rebounds and blocking shots. And then you have Aubrey for putbacks, at playing more athletic front court wings like South Carolina has, front court bigs, because that's where they've gotten killed against like USC and Notre Dame. They haven't had that inside presence that they could just dump it down to, or just kind of like guard somebody. Like, I think her name was Kiki Arifin. She destroyed them down low in the USC game. So it wasn't just Juju Watkins. So like, that's the biggest thing, is when they play these bigger athletic teams, this is not one of them.
They made some great halftime adjustments in that USC game. Juju didn't do quite as much in the second half. She was more inefficient in the second half. So they did something in the locker room and made some adjustments at halftime to kind of get ready for that second half and eliminate her towards the end of the game. But something that happened in that game too, in the last few games, is Sarah Strong has just kind of asserted herself. And I think Gino's been trying to push her, act like a superstar. You're one of the best players, if not the best player on the court. As an 18-year-old, it doesn't matter if you're a freshman or not. You're one of the best players in the country now, and we need you to act like it if we're going to do special things in March.
Did I ever tell you this? I think I told it on a recording show. I'm in Greensboro. North Carolina. People don't know that is about an hour away from where Sarah grew up in like the Fuquay Arena area. Right, it's a suburb of Raleigh, Durham. And so my barber, Rod, shout out to Rod. He's awesome at Kingdom Cuts. He hasn't done this in a while. I've been shaving my own because I haven't been able to get to him. He's been so busy. But anyway, usually does my beard and all that stuff. So he's asked me about UConn, and he said the UConn women, they got a good one coming. This was like a long time ago. And I was just like, who? And he said Sarah Strong. He goes, she played my daughter's team in the state finals, and she had 30 points and 30 rebounds, and she probably could have had 60. And they beat the number 2 team in the state by 50 points.
Wow. Those are Will Chamberlain numbers. Because
Sarah Strong essentially just took the team on her back and said, let's go. I got you. And he was like, their team was good, but she was just so dominant that she just ran everybody. So really, it was like, I was like, wow, that's so wild that like I'm here and hearing about her, and this is like before she even played a game. So I've always had her on my radar because of that. So shout out to Rod. But all right, guys, we're gonna take another quick break, and then we're just gonna give you a quick what to expect from both games from like a prediction standpoint, and then we're gonna get out of here and let you go enjoy the rest of your New Year's Day. All right, FanDuel. Let's see what we can talk about today. NFL playoffs are almost here. My Giants aren't in them. Wah. Neither is Dan's Patriots, but that's for another day. It's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick a win. You can bet on which player scores a touchdown. That's probably what Dan and I do if we're going to bet on Patriots or Giants games, because we know they're not going to win. So we just say, which guy is going to score today, right? How many points each team will score, maybe the over-under, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Join today. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And we're back live with Dan Meehan of Vegas 68 and my co-host at Locked On UConn here. All right. I think for me, look, we got to put this up there because it's a FanDuel segment. He's going UConn -6 first half against DePaul is the easiest money all year. I'll put my entire mortgage payment on it. Jimmy, don't put your mortgage payment on it, okay? I mean, if you got the extra money in the bank, then do it. But if you're betting your life savings, I would. I mean, I agree with you, but I don't know if I would bet my mortgage on it.
UConn has started fast and well the last couple games, but I think last year's team was more of a first half team than this year's team. I think last year's team would kind of Boa can constrict the life out of you over 30, 35 minutes. This team, I think, is more so over 40. It just takes a little longer, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, there'd be no betting for me. But at the same time, if you like Jimmy's play, -6 first half against DePaul, that's your FanDuel special for today. Steve, you're going to the game. Hey, dude, do you want to jump on really quick and chat about it? You can jump on. I'll put the link in the chat. Let's see if Steve wants to jump in. But if not, totally cool. Let's just do the women really quick because I think it's going to be a 30-point game. I think you said the spread was 24.
24.5.
Okay. I don't know if that's the easiest money in the world, but I think it's going to be a 30-point win because I think it may balloon to more, but then I think Marquette will make a run. They got Skylar Forbes is a good player that they have. She's a good shooter. She can kind of create her own shot, but that's about it. Like you said, they don't really have the inside presence. They're not going to get many putbacks. I think Sarah Strong's going to have about 27 rebounds today. Like, I'm joking, but like if she plays 40 minutes, she might, but like she won't. She'll end up having like 13, 14 rebounds, 16 points. I think Paige will have her customary 20 and 5 assists, 5 rebounds. And what I'm hoping for is AC was 3 of 11 from the floor against Providence. I hope that she finds her stroke. But let's go to Steve, man. You're here. Let's see if we can get him in.
Hey, you hear me?
What's up, buddy? Yeah, we hear you.
I'm good.
You go to the game?
To go. I am because I'm in Chicago. So
sweet, dude.
Should be good.
Did you go to UConn or are you just a big fan?
Not really. I wasn't always
That's okay.
the biggest fan, but I have a lot of respect for them. And
okay.
Back to back, so I wanted to go if I had the chance. So.
Hey, all love, dude.
That's the only top 25 game on the college basketball slate today, so you're going to the best one.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Are you sitting? Are you sitting close?
Yeah, I'm in the Chicago area. So.
No, are you sitting like at the arena? Do you have close seats?
Yeah, I think it's either, I don't know if it's like mid-court or behind their bench, but
okay.
Nice. I'm going with my dad, so
cool, man.
Sitting pretty.
Well, happy New Year and enjoy it. Appreciate you jumping on for a quick segment. We're gonna probably jump off here in about a minute, so enjoy it. Have a great day with your dad and happy New Year.
You too.
All right, brother. Steven joining us, going to the game. Not even a big UConn fan, just respects them. That gives me even more. The more of the feels that people do that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, UConn's in town. I gotta go to the game. That's wild, right? I mean, think about that. Like, it's like when you were.
I was just looking at the ticket prices for the women's game. It's $80. Not cheap.
No, I mean, dude, the women draw, dude. Like, that's the thing. Like I told you, when I went to that Greensboro game, this is Greensboro, North Carolina. It's a huge basketball town. So ACC, ACC headquarters are here. They have an ACC Hall of Fame at the New Horizons or whatever it's called center now. What used to be called the Greensboro Coliseum, and so there was like 12,000 people there, and they probably could have opened up the bigger bowl because it seats 20. I think they underestimated the amount of people that would be there because I think they would have got 15 or 16, to be honest with you.
Paige is a Midwesterner too. I'm sure she's got some fans that are coming out to see the game today too.
Absolutely. All right, so what do you think this game is going to be for the men? We had Jimmy in our FanDuel segment here say -6 first half to Paul. Bet that. But do you think UConn is going to be in control most of the game? Or do you think this team is more just like a grinded out team? I just have a feeling from my perspective that they're going to win this game, but I think it's going to be customarily close because that's what this team's identity is until they get this defense like humming like it has over the last couple of years. Are you like they're 95th or 99th in Ken Palm in defense? If we can get somewhere in the 40s, then we'd be dangerous.
Yeah, this DePaul team, I think they're going to get humbled today. They're 9-4 coming into the game, but they've lost 2 games in a row in the Big East to Providence, and they got killed by St. John's. I think UConn's going to come out. I actually like the first half line today, that -6 he mentioned. I think UConn's going to win at least by 15 today. DePaul doesn't do any one thing aside from shooting the ball from 3 well. They don't do anything particularly well on defense. They're like middle of the pack in the country. Ratings wise in both offense and defense, they hovering around 100 mark on either of those statistics respectively. Right. So that's the type of teams that UConn just kind of eats alive on both ends. You know, if you don't do one thing well that can exploit UConn, who's had 10 days off to kind of relax and scout this team. Usually when UConn has a long layoff, that is not good for the opponent. To let this scouting team and the GAs and the Luke Murrays, Kamani Youngs of the world to kind of dissect you, that's not going to bode well for your team. So I think UConn comes out strong today. They win by 15 at least.
I would love to, and maybe this is down the road in the future, and I wouldn't divulge it, just in my brain, just to like kind of understand it, is if I could find out from Dan and his staff who is scouting each game. Like would never say who it was, but would love to in my own brain and just from my own knowledge and just kind of like make little checks of like which scout is in. Sometimes
we were able to figure it out last year during the
tournament. Yeah.
You get some inside info. They alternate games. It's Kamani, then it's Luke. I don't know if they switch that up or if they stay hard on it, but
I would imagine that there's others who do it too. That's the thing. Like there's other guys on the staff who scout games. So because when I was covering the SoCon down here, whether it was Greensboro, the SoCon one year had Greensboro was the first team out, which is because SoCon is always a one bid league. Wofford almost beat Kentucky that year, right? They were undefeated. They were really good. Mike Young, who's now at Virginia Tech. Wes Miller now is at Cincy, and East Tennessee has had Steve Forbes, who's now at Wake Forest. So all these guys are high major coaches now. But that year, I got really close with all three of those teams, and they would rotate all the way to not the managers, but like their director of player personnel. So they had four guys rotating. So it really just I feel like they got divvied up based off of seniority. So like the beginning games probably you give that to I don't know. You're maybe not a GA, but like they help in on it. So I bet you Luke and Kamani do most of the higher profile games without a doubt.
Yeah. All
right. Give me one score prediction, and I'm not going to give one. I want you to be the guy that people give crap to if you're wrong.
Okay, coming into this game, UConn is averaging 79 points a game. No, excuse me, that's the women. Whatever. UConn, I think it's averaging 84, the men. I'm going to go 85-65, 20-point win. And a good defensive game.
I love it. Listen, this has been another episode of Locked On UConn. We did it live today. Join us after the show, after the game. We'll do a live show. We'll stay on for a little bit of time and see if Dan was right. 85-65.
Don't bet your mortgage on it. Do not bet your mortgage.
But if you have $10,
terrible gambler.
But if you have $10, go on FanDuel and do exact score. It's probably like plus 20,000 or something crazy like that. Maybe you get your mortgage out of that. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you back here in about 3-4 hours. Go Huskies.